Hello, it is another Tuesday, which means it's time for another in real life video. As I'll probably mention in all of these for like the next month and a half or so, just because, you know, a lot of people don't always necessarily watch them like in order, and it's very easy to just pick and choose which ones to go back to. But recently we have moved. Obviously, as you can tell from the background, we're still sorting things out, even on a, like, I don't know, a work level. I'm still sort of, as you can see, sorting out and thinking about and adjusting the, like, visual aspect of things. This week, rather than having the background sort of blown out massively with the interior lighting, I've decided to let's try natural lighting. I've got window, like, right here, so I opened it. It's a little bit, I don't know, it's pretty dimly lit behind me. But once again, the lighting on me looks pretty good. I don't know about the background. Looks a little dour. Let me know what you think. Same as last week. A lot of folks wrote in. I don't know. It's a work in progress, right? Regardless, basking in this natural light this week, we have another general viewer submitted question. This one, a bit of a fun one. This one that I thought would be kind of cool to put here toward the end of the year, because otherwise it's not going to be relevant for quite some time, I feel. But hey, a sort of fun end of year retrospection, little, I don't know, looking forward to the future and all of that. Anyway, the person who writes in with our question this week, their username should be somewhere in the lower third, right about now, and they ask kind of a multi-pronged but very tightly knit and related question. What are your plans for Morrowind Mondays Volume 3, whenever we reach that, if you have any yet? Will you go with Tamriel Rebuilt again? Some other mod? Alternate start? I'm very curious to see you go through House Telvanni at least. Lol. This, of course, something we have talked about here and there, so it's pretty easy to miss, which also, you know, lends itself to, I think, a good topic for an IRL video if anyone wants to refer to it, or in the event that, you know, I want to link to it for somebody in the future. So, Morrowind Mondays, been going on since pretty much the start of the channel, or at least me taking the channel seriously as like a hobby many a year ago. We're currently on Volume 2, which has been, for the most part, the core game, and then somewhere around, like, part 50 to 70-ish, we got fully into the Tamriel Rebuilt, about, like, big, super, enormous mod that's been, like, ongoing for, decades, right? I believe literal decades now. Or at least, maybe not decades, but a decade plus, I'll say, just to be safe. I don't know the exact timeline on it. But we've been sort of playing around with that, and I've been really enjoying it. And like I said, it's ongoing. They're still continually adding more and more stuff. But my plans for now is to sort of play this same character for quite some time into the future. When they do add more stuff, unless I'm directly forced to due to some sort of incompatibility issue, I will probably not update it, because in the past I've tried to update it and I sort of messed up a few things, either because there's just incompatibility issues or because I'm just not that good at it. Case in point, somewhere along the way, when I updated the game, a lot of guards in Andothran, sort of a decently sized major city, lost a lot of their clothes, right? They're just walking around without armor on, some of them naked, some of them just wearing like regular clothing, all to varying degrees. Pretty funny, but I feel like we got off easy. There's definitely a world in which, you know, we sort of irrecoverably do harm to the save, right? With Tamriel Rebuilt being so enormous, I would kind of like to go back to even older stuff, especially in knowing that they have plans to update it, because I think it would be fun to at least log it. Personally, I'm sure there are other channels on YouTube or somewhere on YouTube where somebody has like logged older versions of Tamriel Rebuilt and sort of like shows them off. For all I know, the TR team has, like, for posterity's sake, older versions of the game. But before they do that, I would love to go there with the current character. And as was asked, let's see here. Will you go with Tamriel Rebuilt again? So yes, we will be doing that. Some other mod. I've definitely thought about getting into more mods because, well, there's just so many. And Tamriel Rebuilt has been sort of like a good way into the mods, sort of as someone making videos. Because like I've touched on in a past video, I've felt very like iffy about like, do I want to cover mods in this way necessarily or whatever. I feel a little bit of like anxiety about covering them in various forms or other. Oh my gosh, it's getting really bright right now. Sorry if the like the brightness gets thrown off a little bit. Our neighbor's house also is reflecting a ton of orange in here, so I'm probably going to have to do a little bit of color correcting. But the side of their house is super orange, which is kind of all right? Kind of all right for the most part. There's worse colors that it could be as far as lighting is concerned, but it is definitely something to think about. But yeah, as the sun is changing directions, I'll admit, it is slightly blinding me a bit. We probably won't do this again because it is becoming, as the sun is changing positions, it is becoming increasingly more blinding to my eyes. Trying to look at the camera, trying to look at like the preview window for OBS and all of that. I'm kind of trapped. I'm trapped here. I'm stuck. Help. They're going to get me. But nonetheless, when it comes to Tamriel Rebuilt, I've sort of throughout the playthrough, the Volume 2 playthrough, I made it no surprise that the next one through, as this general viewer sort of posits, the next one through I wanted to do a like House Telvanni playthrough. And I think thanks to Tamriel Rebuilt, we have access to 5 other great houses that we should be able to sign up for. The terrible House Drace and the more like theologically oriented House Indoril, right? But as always, with it being sort of an ongoing project, you know, you get more and more the longer you hold off. And I think there is actually a lot of House Telvanni stuff currently in Tamriel Rebuilt because they built out a lot of the like eastern coastline of Morrowind's mainland, which, you know, that's where you get like Necrom and stuff like that, right? Even folks who are unfamiliar with a lot of that area, thanks to stuff like ESO, you know, Necrom is like a big go-to name. But all of that's over there. Still, I would love to approach it as a House Hlaalu character, as my current character. To go back a little bit, as for other mods, I was about to say before I got my eyes blown away, I've been thinking about, and I don't want to commit to anything just quite yet, but I've been thinking about, like, for real, like I had mentioned in a past video, sort of looking at mods for Morrowind, for Oblivion, for Skyrim. Obviously, I had already made plans for, like, the huge full conversion mod, stuff like Skywind, stuff like Fallout London. Those are definitely in the cards. But even looking at, like, smaller stuff, I've kind of been interested in doing it, and I don't know, just judging by general viewer metrics, I would guess that it would be decently popular on the channel as a baseline, right? I would guess that a fair amount of viewers would be interested in seeing that. And like I said, I've become kind of interested in seeing it as well, and I've sort of gotten like a better grip on how I would talk about it and cover it. And I've sort of, I don't know, quelled a lot of my fears and concerns about like being a little too harsh or whatever, if such a thing, if such a time arises. So yeah, I'd be super into that across all the like Elder Scrolls games, just sort of looking at mods every so often. Like, I wonder if there's a future in which the channel kind of pivots to doing mostly that, you know, barring a new full release, we just look at mods on the regular. And I still want to have, like, you know, Morrowind Mondays in the CRPG scheduled slot. But yeah, this is something I've thought about a lot. Like, what if we just do, and we kind of, at present, we kind of already do it, but what if we just committed to, like, and folks have even recommended this before, like, a Skyrim Saturday where we sort of do a look at, I don't know, larger, more popular Skyrim mods. Or this is something that has also gotten on my mind as they have continually added more to Skyrim through the Creation Club. Although we concluded our Skyrim playthrough, they have put out more Creation Club stuff, which, I don't know, I wouldn't mind looking at. Some of it sounds kind of fun, right? Didn't they do, like, around Halloween in October? They did, like, a huge hag or hagraven sort of folksy witch sort of quest arc that you can get on the Creation Club, right? And true enough, I know a lot of folks are kind of balk at the idea of spending money on Creation Club stuff, but hey, I'm in kind of a unique position where I can show that stuff off and kind of, like I said, I'm kind of curious about it myself, right? I really enjoyed the mud crab, the big crab fight, which I'm very sorry I forgot to mention in last week's In Real Life video about boss encounters, my favorite boss encounters. That totally should have been there. But also I've heard that, like, at least for Skyrim creations, they've got, like, voice acting now too, right? I've heard something about that. I don't know the legitimacy of that statement, but that's what I've heard. I don't know. I'm down for it. I'm down to try it. It sounds like a good time. Yeah, I'd totally be down for that. I will admit, though, when we get into involving sort of Fallout mods into that mix, and potentially Starfield stuff going further into the future, but obviously, you know, there's a lot more to glom onto with Fallout. I cannot deny that there will probably be some amount of favoritism leaning toward Elder Scrolls because I personally am just like an Elder Scrolls lover, right? I like Fallout and all of that. I do really like and enjoy it, but there's definitely no denying that I have a bit of a favorite. Mostly due in part to, like, nostalgia, mostly due in part to, like, I got started with Morrowind way back in the day. I kind of fell in love with it then. Thus, like I said, I'm kind of intrinsically tied to it. But who knows what the future holds, right? Sort of similar to how we have arrived at this point. It may be that, like, I don't know, screwing around with so many mods and the newer creations and all that crap, it could be fun to, I might get in the mood like, oh yeah, check out some of the Fallout 4 ones or whatever, right? I'll tell you one right off the bat for Fallout, the sim settlements and all of that. But not just that, but even going back further to, like, older games, right? To Oblivion, covering stuff like Nerim, going to Morrowind, because Morrowind still has, like, a pretty devoted modding scene, wherein there's, like, folks building out other parts of Tamriel, building out, like, Cyrodiil, I believe, was recently in the news. I think someone recently wrote to me about. I don't have it written down here, but there's definitely a lot of, I don't know, interesting stuff that sounds pretty neat, right? I'm down to check it out. I don't anticipate all of it will be, like, on caliber with some of my favorite bits from, like, Tamriel Rebuilt. Like, for instance, the Endothrend Thieves Guild, which I had absolutely loved. Like, I was mind-bogglingly into it. Definitely a high point of a quest arc in Tamriel Rebuilt, I would say, for me so far. And there's a lot of other, like, pretty good hits and all of that. I don't anticipate it'll all be of that caliber, but it'll be fun to check out, I think, right? And like I said, I think it'll do decently well on the channel, right? To what degree, I don't know, but certainly I have a reputation, deservedly, because like I said, I like it. I quite like it myself. I deservedly have a bit of a reputation for being into the Elder Scrolls and doing Elder Scrolls stuff. So it's kind of a win-win in that regard. And there's just so much of it. I don't know. I'd be down for it. In the event that I did do, like, sort of these spin-off videos, like, barring a full playthrough of something large, like a Tamriel Rebuild Volume 3, that would probably be done in a similar fashion compared to what it's been done as. Same goes for like whenever we eventually do Fallout London after Fallout 4, or whenever we eventually do Skywind. Those will be done in more traditional, like, I would assume mostly uncut playthroughs. But if we're looking at regular mods, I don't know, I'd be down to kind of like experiment around and just see like, oh, maybe I miss like a Saturday or whatever of putting out a big like, oh, we're looking at this mod or whatever. Maybe I'll miss one every now and then, especially as we're just getting started. But I'd be kind of down to like edit one together, use a face cam. I've been thinking about more and more about using a face cam and all of that. But I should probably save that for a more year-end retrospective. I posted a little bit about it on Blue Sky about my thinking about sort of involving the face cam a bit more in the playthrough videos, just as like in a little corner or whatever like that, you know, the usual. But I feel as though we could do that and we could like edit it up a bit, chop it up a bit, chop out stuff like where I'm looking through sacks of cheese and lettuce and all of that. Because I love looking through sacks of cheese and lettuce and all that, but I know it's not exactly incredible viewing, right? Some folks also love that too. And to which I say, I salute you. I see you. I understand where you're coming from. We are of a similar ilk. We love looking through worthless crates and sacks. That's all for us. But like I said, sort of in the interest of getting on with it and sort of keeping the focus on the mod itself and having it sort of be, I don't know, like an expose on the mod or whatever. We would probably like cut the chaff, as it were, right? We would cut around stuff like that, you know? Which may lead to like, oh, I can only make this video every so often, you know? The length of the videos will, of course, be a little bit more variable, right? As, you know, some mods are a little bit shorter. Some segments have a lot of chaff that need to be cut. Some have very little, right? Such is the way of things. I'm down to experiment. I think it sounds like a fun time, right? So long as time permits, which is why I sort of give you the conditional of like, early goings on, maybe miss a few or whatever, right? Maybe have a very tentative schedule with regards to putting out those videos. But yeah, it's absolutely something on my mind. To go back to Tamriel Rebuilt, probably going to continue on with this character for a very long time. I would love to see more along the East Coast of Tamriel Rebuilt. Eventually, we'll do like a big super duper update, because they'll have built up year plus worth of new stuff, which they've already got some things in the hopper for Tamriel Rebuilt, and I think it's sizing up to be like, or lining up to be like a pretty decent size, right? It's going to be pretty huge, one of their bigger ones, adding a bunch of different quest arcs and all of that. Be very interested to get it and delve into all that. But that'll probably come out a later date, just in the interest of like not breaking anything. But hey, if something does break, we'll just impromptu sort of like, oh, whoops, guess this week was the end of Tamriel Rebuilt Volume 2. And I guess next week we're just beginning Volume 3. Here it is, right? I don't really have a problem with that, as jarring as it may be, but I don't know. I'm down for the ride. I'm kind of into it. I like flow with the punches and all that, right? It's kind of fun. All right. I think that'll do it with discussion on Tamriel Rebuilt and plans for Volume 3. Other mods, probably, like I said, keep them divorced from a Volume 3 playthrough of TR, of Morrowind. Depending on the size of it, it may get included into, like, right, like a Volume 3 or even a 4 in the distance could be, like, focusing on a different type of enormous Morrowind mod or whatever, right? Or, I don't know, it depends on the size and all of that. Like I said, we'll wing it. We'll take it as it comes and goes, right? But it is definitely something that's on my mind, something that I've been having, like, scattered thoughts about and all that. Getting into Tamriel Rebuilt has absolutely sort of, like, I don't know, garnered interest in myself personally for, like, sort of looking at mods, right? Like I had alluded to in a prior video. Hopefully I'll find that and have that be the little like extra linked video that I just kind of toss in here toward the end. All right. As I said, that ought to do it. Once again, apologies for a bit of the mess. Apologies for the very different lighting. I'm not sure if I'll do this again. It's chilled out a little bit, but I don't know, if the sun hits, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, I get blinded. I have like 30% less chance to hit. You know what I'm saying? Morrowind. Sorry. All right. That ought to do it for this week. Until next time, please take care of each other.